Just give me something to start with. A little rest is fine. I'll give you many hours, a minute at a time. I don't care where you came from, but I want you to know I may have to start over. I'm learning as I go. When I'm done, I'll be the one to take you down the road. We'll leave behind our troubles, and everyone will know.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to Joe Daddy's Garage. It is Monday, July 20th, 2026, and it's hot. It's back to being hot once again. It cooled off a little, I think, last week, and then, summer said, no, we're not done yet. So we have the hot weather back with us. Things are going pretty good. I think you all probably watched that last video that I did with the headers, and the fact that TCI watched my videos, they watched my complaints, they learned from mistakes that were made, and they took advantage of that. I pointed out in the video that the headers were made by Doug's Headers, owned by Petronix. And, Sal did ask me to mention that because he didn't want people to think that the headers we were using were actually built in-house at TCI. And I think everybody realized that. If you go to Doug's Headers or a variety of other brands, you'll see those same headers being sold under a couple different names, if I remember correctly. So the fact that they said, hey, you know what? Let's make this work the way it should. I can't shout out enough to them for doing that. I know they're already getting feedback from my Facebook posts, and I'm sure from the YouTube posts. Hopefully they watched the YouTube video. I showed the installation for the most part. I didn't get them fully installed. I was fighting with some of the bolts, which is normal. Headers, I don't care what brand or what you're putting on, those header bolts are always a pain. So I may look at a couple variations to that. One of those is the fact that the original exhaust manifolds were held on with studs. And so when the studs were installed, you would slip the header on and then run the nuts down. Now they did provide me with these bolts, as I showed previously, and I know they'll work, but I may mix it up a little bit. I may experiment with the studs and see if it makes more sense to just do that. I know the shiny bolts obviously look better than, a little bit of rust on the other ones, but nonetheless, they did a good job clearing the steering shaft, clearing the interference with the block that I showed, also moving it over so that it cleared the shifter cable on the transmission. The only thing that I would probably want to see an improvement on would be that little bit of space increased slightly around the starter. And I pointed out, I said, that's kind of close. And I'm assuming they watched the video. I didn't get any response back from them, but I did point that out. It was a little bit close on that curve, and I could see improvement there. Otherwise, no complaints. Now, I say no complaints. No complaints for me. No complaints with what they've done at all. I do know that there's been some people that have, they follow my Facebook page, and they make it a habit of voicing their opinion. Hey, we all have an opinion. We all know that. And every time I post something, they're like, oh, that's going to be this, or that's going to be that, or they tend to express a lot of negativity. I think part of it is they are doing things maybe a different way than I do things. And as we all know, most of us tend to think our way is the best way. And I may be where this person is coming from, is he thinks that only his way is the best way, the only way that'll work. And I get it. I do. but I try not to take it personal because there's always room for improvement. There's always a different way, another way to skin a cat, as they say, or whatever. But um, it's just funny that he tends to always, oh, that's going to be this, or that's going to do that, or that'll never work, and I laugh every time I see the post because I'm like, dude, chill. It'll work. Give it a second. Give it a second. So today I started playing around with the exhaust pipe fitment. Now, originally we had, the owner had bought a MagnaFlow exhaust system, which is really super nice, stainless pieces, fancy clamps, and there's just no way that would work. It just won't work. So right now, what I'm doing is I've had some people send me pictures of cars that were built with the exhaust coming back and going up and then curving over and running in the tranny tunnel. And I think that's going to be where we have to go with this. Whether we use any of the MagnaFlow parts at all, I don't know, because there's a lot of conflict with all of the suspension parts in the back and even trying to get those pipes to go over everything. I've seen variations. I've seen, custom, and it may end up being just a standard exhaust system with some nice mufflers. We may just have to go that route because you can't use stuff that is designed for another car. Like, I'm not going to bend those stainless pipes, and they're also 3-inch diameter, which may be a little too big for the space that we have. So I've been experimenting with that. I feel like I'm probably going to run up to my buddy's shop. He has a muffler shop just up the road, and just get some scraps and just sort of put together at least a mock-up exhaust system to prove its function. So I'm playing with that right now. I try to make sure everything's going to work and interact, as best we can. And the fact is, the exhaust, even though the plan is to run it out the back, we'll have to see if that's even feasible. It may be something where we just do turn downs in front of the axle. That's a pretty normal thing on these cars, but we'll see. We'll see what we come up with. But right now, that's what I'm playing with, is trying to get some of that put together and get a good look at it and make sure everything's going to interact. I've said it before, I like to have, sorry, I'm checking my lights. I like to have things kind of progressing in an order and jumping out of that sequence. I don't like to do that necessarily because I end up, not that I'm saying that I would miss something, but I don't want to take that chance on skipping something because all of these pieces on these cars interact with each other. At some point, there's going to be something that interacts or needs to be out of the way for something else to work. So I'm trying to make sure I cover all the bases with that. So that's basically where I'm at right now. Let's see who's in here tonight, and we'll get started with our normal chat. And if you're new to my live streams, I do these on Monday nights at 7 o'clock, and I try to talk about cars between 1955 and about 1980, mostly Mustangs, but I do some, Camaro. I'm a car guy. I grew up in Pennsylvania. My dad had a junkyard. I've been around practically every car made between 1950 and, I don't know, 1990. It seems like that's my bracket that I'm really comfortable with. But anyway, if you have a question or something you want to talk about, I encourage you to be involved and be part of that. First in tonight, Rick Stevenson. And Rick has provided me with a fresh round of coffee. So we'll get started with that. Get some coffee in. Thank you, Rick. And Rick Gain, hope all are doing better than me. Cancer came back, surgery scheduled for Friday. Sorry to hear that, Rick. I'm glad you're here. And hopefully the surgery goes smooth and they can take care of it. Let's hope. Hope and pray. TJ, Sal came through a good deal. My faith in humanity is restored. Well, I would like to think so. But this is just one incident. there's a lot of other stuff going on that makes me question our faith in humanity as it stands right now. But I agree. I'm really happy that they did their due diligence and took care of it. Dave Conville, good evening. Going to miss the show tonight. Had a busy weekend and need to recover a bit. There may be food and beverages involved. Well, that's acceptable. That's acceptable. Got an itch in my nose. Hey, Metco Man. Hello, everyone. I like the work you did on the windshield wiper holes on the cowl panel. And he says, when you know those little things, sometimes you have to be careful not to upset the owner of the car. Oh, well, okay. I'm not sure what your when you know the difference is what you're saying. So if somebody had a 66 Mustang and they put a cowl in from a 65 and they just put the bushing and the trim pieces in and everything like that, you're saying if you went up to look at their car and you say, oh, this isn't right for a 66, then you would get them upset. I get it. You know, I made a video, or I'm making a video on that process, and I realized my mind had it backwards. I really did. I was thinking it was the other way around. And so I talk about it as if it's a 66 cowl that I'm making into a 65 cowl, and that's backwards. So, I'm going to note that in the video whenever I'm making it. Troy Justin, good evening, all, and Barry. I decided to modify my original seat risers. Instead of getting the convertible one piece to fit the convertible floor pan I installed on my 65 Fastback. Okay. Glad you're here, Troy. And he says, I'm worried my center console wouldn't fit over the convertible ones. Yeah, I don't know that there's, I mean, I have to think about that a minute, because the convertibles also came with consoles. And I wouldn't think they made different consoles. Like, they would not have done that, as far as I know. If they did, they would have had to trim it, I guess, to make it fit over that little hump. So I don't know. I've never researched that. So I don't know if there is a difference, but I guess there could be. So it's probably worth doing what you're doing. Dave Tyson, good evening, all. Evening, Dave. Glad you're here. Nandu, good evening, Barry and gang. Hope you're doing well. Thank you, Nandu. And I think I am doing well. I am. I think I am. That's what the little voice in my head is saying. You're doing good. Richard Vogel, good evening, Barry. I hope you had a great weekend. Well, thank you, Richard. I had a weekend. I posted, well, I haven't posted yet. I've been working on a camper video, because the camper, I've done videos on my other channel, my workshop channel, where I've worked on the camper that we have. And over the July 4th weekend, I started digging into some water damage in that camper. And so I've been working on repairing that. So I have engineered a fix, and I have most of it together, and I'm very happy with how it turned out. But that's what I did this past weekend. My wife and I went over and worked on the camper and tried to fix up that floor system. So it's always something. You always have, something. I would much rather have just gone to the lake and, hung out with some friends or something, but that didn't happen. Nandu, is good to see a company making good on their promise. You're absolutely right. I'll give you an extra bell for that. And I had gone back and forth. I have multiple texts, pictures, stuff that I sent to Sal, and he kept me updated on the process. And I'm and in their, I don't want to say defense, but they're a big time company, right? They want to sell products. They want to make money. They really do. And I'm not here to badmouth a company that's doing business. I will badmouth a product or a product line that I find problems with. And I did the Mustang Stafir roll bar, and I pointed out, I said, this thing's junk. It doesn't work. It doesn't fit. And as I said before, the original owner of the company was messaging on YouTube saying, "Oh, it'll fit. Just do this or just do that." And that's not the point. When we're building something like this, if I have to be the squeaky wheel, fine. I mean, I do have a presence on YouTube. I have a presence on Facebook and Instagram, and companies take note of that. They don't need bad press. They don't need somebody coming out and saying, "Hey, don't buy this," because. And so it's in their best interest to address it in a positive light, and that's what they did. And that's a very smart move on their end. So, um, but I mean, I'm glad that they did step up, primarily because those headers that I was working on, they were never going to fit, and we would have been going a whole different road to try to take care of that. I feel like I'm out of focus. I don't know if my I don't know if my camera is doing what it's supposed to be doing. I feel like I'm out of focus, but it may just be me. Dave Tyson saying sorry to Rick about the cancer issue, as is Nandu, and Rick, I'll pray for you. Yeah, we definitely hope for the best, result out of that. David, the bowler hat guy. Hello, all. Good evening, Barry. Good evening, David. Roger, hindsight 6-7. Greetings from next door. Greetings, Raj. We're gonna have to mow soon. The grass is getting tall. Gig'em Garage. Good evening, Barry. Kevin Barth here. I hope you had a great weekend. Everyone give Barry a thumbs up. Thank you, Kevin. Likewise. Auto Dynamics 01 or 01. The only modification I would have done with the header flanges would be the bottoms would be slotted like Ultimate headers do. So this way you can install the bottom bolts and slip the headers from the top. That's not a bad idea at all. I could see that working. Um, and maybe that's something they'll consider later. I don't know. But I also feel like the studs that we have that came that actually held the exhaust manifolds on could remedy that. They are kind of long though, so we'll have to play with that a little bit. But I agree that would have been a great modification to have those slots, drop it in, and just tighten things up. You get an extra ding ding for that. Dawn's Manufactory. Hello, Barry and everyone from 90 Degree PDX. Ooh, welcome, Dawn. 90. Well, we've had temperatures 95. I don't know let me see what the current temperature is here. It's 88 right now. So we had a high of 92. Um, and they're saying we're going to get more rain, but who knows? Who knows? Dave Britton. Hello, Barry. Hello, David. Glad you're here. Steve Reed. Hello, Barry and everyone. Hope everyone's doing well. Don't forget to leave a thumbs up for Barry. Thank you, Steve. From Paducah, Kentucky. I just had to say that. Ed Cucharella. Rick, hope the best for you on Friday. Yes, thank you for being here, Ed. And Ed is out on the West Coast. Still like his Ranchero. Got to ride in that car. That was fun. Pat Attic, good evening from PA. Welcome, Pat. Dawn says, dang, Rick, I sympathize. I just had my last chemotherapy treatment this morning, hoping the best outcome for you. Yes, definitely. Jerry's Garage, the Money Pit. Good evening to all. Good evening, Jerry. Hope all is well. Hey, Metco Man. Yes, the consoles are different on the convertibles because of the floor. See, there you go. Thank you for that. I did not know that. Michael Pagliarini, evening. I ordered my third member Friday. Thank you to Dawn for helping me to figure out what gear fit my application. Went with quick performance. Awesome. I'm glad that you all got that worked out. And says Dawn says, "Hey Michael, let me know what works out for you." And let me just say this: um, since we're having a group kind of chat right now between those two, I've done this on more than one occasion, and I don't know specifically if I connected Dawn and Michael, or if Michael had contacted Dawn through his YouTube channel. I don't know; doesn't matter. But I have done this on several occasions, and that's one of the benefits of being in this group and doing those sorts of things, but also on my Patreon page. There's a group chat on there that people get involved in. There's interactions and crossovers where people can communicate and have help from, or help solving problems with cars and different things. So this doing this live stream, I think has benefited a lot of people over the years that I've been doing it. And I'm grateful for people like Dawn and Michael and Hey Matco Man talking about the consoles, because a lot of times the information we get is just kind of happenstance. Like, you may find an article or you may find some information somewhere, but as we're doing this in a live kind of format, we get responses. And somebody has a question, maybe they can get an answer right on the spot. So I really do think this has been a great benefit for a lot of people, and I'm going to try to keep doing it as long as I can. Jerry says, I just put headers on my 5.4 Ford engine. I used the studs, and it was just as painful as header bolts. My engine was out of the car. Okay. Well, yeah, it's going to be tricky. I know it's going to be tricky putting the headers on at the final stage, but as I mentioned before, it reminds me of doing work on airplanes. Times we'd have to climb inside a tight space and replace something. And you might be reaching your arm at full length and turning your hand around as far as you can and finding a bolt, loosening it. And so a lot of times when I'm doing that, I get that same kind of feeling that I'm doing some complicated repair on an airplane. But there's always a way to figure it out. Richard, I noticed you're out of focus. I thought it may be the smoke from Canada. Yeah. Thankfully, that hasn't reached us. We have somewhat clear skies here in Georgia. Have not seen that. I mean, we get a lot of, have a lot of clouds, but we're not getting that smoke as they are up in the northeast, I guess. So, and that's scary stuff whenever it's a health warning because of smoke and stuff in the air. Robert, I'm here, 105 the next few days. Won't be below 100 degrees for the foreseeable future. Glad you're here, Robert. I don't want to. I don't want any part of that 105. You can keep it. Autodynamics. Are you planning to install the motor trans at the same time with the radiator support off? Will you be bolting the radiator support in rather than weld? Not really structural. I've been fighting with this idea, and I say I'm fighting with it. I have arguing, I should say. I've actually was or messaging Dawn about some ideas to make it a removable core support. And on one hand, it's a good idea. It's not hard to modify. I mean, it'd be easy to weld in the cross piece on the bottom and just create a flange for the intersection. And then you could put in nutserts on the flange on the aprons and just run bolts into it. Wouldn't be hard to do. So I'm debating on that. Now, part of that problem is if you make it removable, at what stage is it removable? Meaning, what else has to come off to make that come off. Because when you think about it, you've got the bumper brackets, you've got the bumper, the lower valance, the rock guard, the grill, the hood latch support, the fenders, wiring, those variables. And if there's AC running, which we're planning to put AC in it, it's going to have to run through that core support somehow as well. So there is um, there's a lot of things to think about. The more I think about it, the more likely it would end up being welded in as normal. And then what I might consider is doing the just a top piece, maybe finding a way to make that presentable as a removable piece rather than the whole core support. Once that's welded in, if necessary, we could take that top piece and modify it and make it removable because that really doesn't do much there at all when you think about it. I mean, it does support side to side, but it's not like structural, so to speak. So there's just been a lot of arguing in my head thinking this over. And like I said, I'd messaged Dawn about it and we played with some ideas. So I don't know yet. Right now, I'm leaning towards just welding it in and being done with it. Troy, with shock towers removed and a suspension not putting a stress on the aprons, you can make the core support removable just by thinking. Yeah, you can. And again, removable, but what else is stacked on it? What else is connected to it that you have to take out of the way? Now, if you were to have to pull this back apart, you maybe, you'd want to pull the grill out anyway so you don't damage it. You might want to pull the bumper off anyway so you don't hit it with something. So there's things to consider. I don't know that I'd want to pull the fenders back off because once you get them in place, you don't want to move things around. So there will be some consideration for what I end up doing. I may try to do the removal and install with it as it is, like installed, and pull the engine out and see if it'll snake out of there without any problem, and go from there, and then make a decision. Auto on mine, I'm planning on installing the motor and headers in one shot, bell housing and clutch on my end, and install trans after. I think I'm doing it removable, taking nose off for ease of motor. Okay. And he says the car is painted. Yeah. I mean, I understand. And, when you're dealing with the, painted fenders and all that stuff, if you're going to be pulling stuff apart, you got to pull the head off, or the hood off anyway. Excuse me. But like I said, I don't think I'd want to pull the fenders off and all that unless it had to be. Rick Stevenson, it's all right to argue with yourself as long as you don't interrupt yourself. That is a valid point. And Roger says you can also say, huh, because that means you weren't paying attention. You also can't say, huh? Okay. Auto Dynamics, I also use the MTF radiator support flat to gain some room for the radiator to sit flush, especially with the intake tube gets close with everything in place. Okay. That's good to know. Michael, I will dawn. It's going to be a while before it's on the road, but the needs list is getting smaller. Barry, I like the like-minded people in this group. Yeah, me too. Me too. Dawn, my vote was for top centerpiece removable for easy engine and trans removal post completion, and I'm leaning towards that. I really am, and it's not such a negative. Like, I remember looking at stuff like the 55 Chevys. What did everybody do on those? They just cut them off. They just cut that cross piece, just cut it off, pulled the engine and transmission, put a new one in, and then they would put that piece back up and weld it back together. And you look at that from a restoration standpoint, you're like, ugh, why? But you also realize it was easier. So I may come up with a simple way to make that happen. I may. Troy, you make a valid point of having to remove the front grille, headlight assembly, bumper, and anything else that is attached. Yeah, that's the thing we do. It's easy to look at it now, like it's on the lift, and go, "Oh yeah, that would be great." Just take out 3 or 4 bolts on each side, and boom, it's off. No, it's not. There's a ton of stuff bolted to it overall. Um, when you consider there's pieces, there's little brackets that hold the headlight extensions and all that stuff. Yeah, it's probably just going to get welded in and custom modified at the top. So um, here's something else I did today. I ended up going by the local machine shop. I have not been to that machine shop, I'm guessing, since 96, 97, 98, I'm guessing. And that machine shop, I had used it for building several Chevy small blocks. One for the stock car, um, another one for one of the Chevy trucks I had. I think I built 3 out of there. Anyway, I decided I'm in the area. I'm going to stop by and talk to the guy. Uh, and the guy that did all that work years ago is still running it, still owns the place. And so I stopped in and started talking to him. And I said, "Hey, I want to get these. I have 289s. I want to get some work done to them." And I told him what was going on. And he's like, "Okay, we can do that." So I'm really thankful, first off, that that machine shop still exists. And he said his son, I think, is taking it over and plans to continue operating it. But the challenge is finding machinists that come in there and work. There's like, he said, it's hard to find machinists that want to come in there and do stuff. But I talked to him about the 67 block that I have with the rust in it. And we're going to see if he can clean it up, and then we'll put I really would just want to do the bottom end, um, get new pistons put in it, and see if he can salvage the connecting rod that had some damage to it. But it was so interesting to talk to the guy, because I said, "You probably don't remember me," and he said, "What's your name?" And I told him my name, and he was like, "Yep, I remember you. I did Chevy small blocks for you." And I was like, "Holy cow!" Holy cow! I couldn't believe you remember me. That's really, now I think about it, it's been 30 years. It's not been 20. It's been 30 years ago that he did some work for me. So we ended up talking about what was going on and the cars I'm working on, and I'm now more interested or excited about the idea of getting at least one of the engine blocks like that. I got the 289 there for the Falcon, um, and I'm debating on whether that's going to become a stroker motor or not. I'm not sure yet. So I want to take the 67 block and just get it to him and let him take care of it. If he can bore it 60 over, which I know everybody says that's a risk, but if he can bore it to 60 over and we can get um, get pistons in it, that's fine. Because then I can bolt the thing together and have a complete engine again. If and when I get to work on the 67 that is sitting outside, maybe one day. Troy, I don't know about everyone else, but I'm getting a lot of commercial on YouTube tonight. I hate the interruptions. I'm missing some of what you're saying. Oh, I hate that, Troy. I don't know if I can. I don't know if I can modify that or not. Um, I'm kind of I'm kind of stuck as to what I can do while I'm operating. Let me see if I can change anything. I don't think I can. No, sorry. I don't know how else to fix it. But YouTube's got to make their push for commercials. It's what they do. Rick Stevenson, one point of consideration: this is supposed to be a race car. It may be necessary to remove the engine multiple times after completion. That is a thought. That's a good thought. I mean, we don't want to think that way, obviously, but that is a possibility to consider. Thank you, Rick. Dawn, I have trouble remembering names, but I recall in detail cars, work done, etc. You know, I cannot argue with that one bit. I get it. I'm the same way. And lately, I've been getting worse at remembering names. I was talking to my wife earlier and saying, "Yeah, I went over to this guy's place. The guy. I can't think of the name." I said, "But I borrowed his trailer, and we also went to blah 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 and to this car show, and I talked all about it." I was like, "Why can't I remember his name?" David, my vote is to make it a stroker. I am going to consider that. I'm going to consider that. Julian, good evening. True, hard to find. True, it's hard to find machinists, so I'll just do it alone. Sonic map the block. Sometimes you can move a cylinder a few thousands. Interesting. Thank you for that. The Car Whisperer 101 just joined the live. Not quite the idea of what the conversation is about, but I know it's about cars. So, my out of context question to you is: what do you think of Mercedes 190E Evo 2? Masterpiece to me. Um, that is well out of my realm. I don't. I'll be honest. I don't even know what that is. I mean, I know what a Mercedes is, and I've heard of the one. I guess I've heard of the 190, but I'm not a. I'm not into German cars, so I apologize for that. I'm glad you're here. You get a bell for showing up, but I would have to look that up and see what that is. So, a Mercedes 190E. I'm going to pull it up. I'll look for that real quick. Um, Mercedes 190E Evo, right? Okay. 190E Evo 1 and 2. Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's a Mercedes. It looks like a nice car. I I know I've never seen one in person. But it looks very sporty and racy. Probably fun be a fun car to drive. That's all I can say because I just don't know. I'm I'm more of a American car guy. I've worked on Mercedes. I have when we had the body shop. I did some work on Mercedes, but that's all I can say. And I did search it up. I did pull up an image of it. So thank you for being here. But my focus is classic American cars. So 55 to about 1980 or so is what I try to talk about, and that's that's some of my normal conversations. But I do encourage people to be involved and ask questions. So I'm glad you brought that up. So maybe everybody else will look up that car as well and see what they think about it. Um, but I just, unless I'd rode in one or saw it in person, I really couldn't judge it or be fair about that. So, but as I was saying with the engine process, if I can get the 289 board to 60 and save it, and we're going to find out. I hate to I hate to throw it away, considering it might be risky. But I also don't want to go find another one. So we'll take care of that one, get it at least assembled, and then um, see what I can do with this one over here. And if I can, figure out a good stroker combination for it, I may do that. I may. Undecided at the moment. Right now, I have those Edelbrock heads, and they have the big valves in them, like the 202 valves, like a Chevy valve. And so that's a consideration as to what's going to work as far as pistons and that sort of thing. So there may be some research that needs to be done. Julian, I still plan on turning a wrist pin press pin for you. I'll get there. Oh, okay. Well, I won't turn it down. I won't turn it down. I'd appreciate that. Thank you. Michael, my 289 is now a 331, but I'm still waiting on my link arm lifters. Okay. So when you say link arm lifters, I'm guessing I don't know if I don't know what that is, or if it's something that I do know, but it's maybe has a different name. So when you say link arm, that sounds like a complex thing. Um, like the roller. Oh, I'm sorry. No, let me back up a step. Link arm lifters. So you're talking about the non-rotating lifters. Now, I get it now. We've got the link arm between them. I got it. Had to put it in a picture in my head somewhere to make that connection. Okay. Rick Stevenson had to find a machine shop last week. The one closest to us wouldn't answer the phone and return calls. Next closest was 2 hours away. Shout out to Automotive Machine in Oakland, Maryland. Treated us right. Oakland, Maryland. That's a long way. Is it Maryland? 'Cause I thought you were down in Florida. Unless you got something else going on. You didn't move on us, did you? But yeah, shout out to Automotive Machine. Um, this machine shop is super close. Like, I don't even think they're 3 miles away from me, this machine shop. And I'm hoping they can stay in business and find guys to do the work. Uh, you know, get some gearheads in there that love to work on, old engines and stuff. They had a lot of stuff going on. They said they're never short of work, but I'm grateful that they are right there. So, oh, Rick says he's visiting family. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I was like, what are you doing in Maryland getting the machine work done? That's a long way to go. That's a long drive. You could come right up here to where I live and get some work done, but that makes sense now. Um, so, anyhow, get those two engines figured out. I'll have to do some research on what I can get away with on the stroker kit. And I'll talk to the machine shop too and get their input. I know I can probably take him, the heads and say, hey, what's going to work here? And what do I need to do to turn this into a stroker engine? So he said they're still, they've been doing that. They're still doing that sort of work. And there's just something, I don't know. It's nice to have a good 289 or 302 or 351, but there's something about that 347 stroker combination. It just has a nice sound to it. Don, my favorite machine shop guy retired and sold his shop. Have not been there to find out if it is no longer an option. Oh, well, let's hope they kept it operational. Ed, question. I came across a 66 289 with 90,000 miles that was removed for a blueprint 347. It ran when removed, asking 500. I assume it's a good deal and I should pick up a spare. Uh, I would say so. Yeah, $500. Um, if it's a running engine, that's pretty reasonable. Like I just got the estimate to get the head work or the cylinder work, not on that engine, but to get the cylinders bored, um, and whatever, getting freeze plugs and all this stuff done to this other engine is probably going to run $1,000 just for that. So if you get a running engine 289, that seems reasonable. I would probably get it. Just put it on a shelf somewhere. Carlos Whisperer, thank you for the review of the 190E. You're welcome. And I see you have. I can't make out the logo very big, but it looks like you've got some sort of a race car in your thumbnail. Um, I can't read the whole, I don't know what it says. If it says the Car Whisperer, I don't know what it says. I can't read it. But I'm glad you're here and checking out what I do. Dave Tyson says, just broken in with 90,000 miles. Michael, yes, for roller cam, it would have been quicker to drill the block for a web like the Fox body had. Oh, okay. That's a consideration too. It really is. I don't know how far I'm going to go with like the 67 engine. I'm just going to leave it alone. I'm not going to do anything crazy with it. I just want to get it together and have it ready to run whenever, eventually, if and when I ever get to work on the car. I would rather have the engine all together and ready to go. Pat Attic, I went the 347 route. Yeah, yeah, and it would be like, I feel like that 347 in the Falcon is the right way to go. I really do. I think that's going to be a fun combination. Julian, some shops don't have the time. So much headwork going on with the thin aluminum overheads. Easy money. That is a valid point. I get that. I get that. It's just like the same situation with like a body shop that is doing collision work. They don't want to do any kind of restoration stuff. It takes too long. They want to have the quicker job where it's doing a fender and a bumper cover, blending the paint, get it out the door, make their money and go. So yeah, I get that. I get that. Troy, I'm debating whether to get my 289 rebuilt or buy a crate engine. I don't have any reputable machine shops close to me. Let us know how your engine work turns out and when will it come your way. Well, this shop has been around a long, long, long time. In fact, I was talking to the owner. He is 69 years old, and he has I guess his son there is 30. I think is what he said. I guess it was his son, but he's going to be taking it over. Um, and so they're known for doing good work. They've done a lot of stuff. That green engine that's sitting in the back is a engine they helped me build. That my 350 sitting back there. So who knows? Maybe we'll end up having that um, having an engine done here at our location. David, the Blueprint 347 is hard to beat when looking at bang for the buck. Yeah, I'm sure it is. I'm sure it is. I know on my side of things, I still have a budget to stick to on a lot of this. Um, that's like the 351 Windsor engine for the Mach 1. I don't um, I don't think I'm going to do anything. I think it's been rebuilt, so I don't even want to take it apart necessarily. I may oil up the cylinders and all that stuff and rotate it over, but I'm not going to modify that engine. It's going to stay a 351 as it is. Whatever's in there is in there. I don't want to go make it some. I don't know what the equivalent on a 351, what the stroker engine is. Um, I don't know what the numbers are, but I'm going to leave that thing alone. Dawn, I was toying with the idea of building an all aluminum 347, 4.125 bore, and 3.25 stroke. Lots of dollar signs. Yeah. Yes. That would be a pretty impressive little engine, though. Rick Stevenson, unfortunately, can't convert a non-roller small block Ford. The roller blocks have taller lifter bores. The only way to do that is with the linked lifters. Okay, well, that's good information. I assume there was a difference in that bore. I've looked at those roller blocks a little bit, and I found some for sale, but I have not. I'm not going to pursue any of those. I've got the Mexican 302, and I've got the 67. That's all I'm going to mess with right now. And also, I forgot the blue Mustang, the Poco one that I've called it, 68. It's got a 302 Mexican block sitting in it as well that I haven't even looked at. I know it's a Mexican block, and I haven't looked at it as far as what the bore is or what anybody's done to it. I think I know there's a crankshaft. I don't know what else in there because I haven't looked at that car since I used it as a template for the frame jig and then rolled it outside and covered it up. David, I think the 351 strokes up to a 408. Yeah, that sounds about right, but I'm not going to do it. I'm going to leave the Mach 1, the regular engine. I will put an AOD transmission in it, though. I don't want to put a regular automatic. It'll have an AOD in it. 427 Mustang. I've taken apart too many blueprint engines to ever buy one. I care about things like ring gap and thrust bearing clearance. I also don't like their blocks. The only aftermarket blocks I build are Dart. Well, that's good to know. Thank you for that, 427. Appreciate that information. The Car Whisperer. Since we were talking about classic American cars, my favorite one is the Ford GT40, famously defeating Ferrari in the 1966 24-hour Le Mans, and 3 GT40s finished first, second, and third. Yes, they did, and that's a great story, and it was also a great movie. Um, in fact, I just watched that movie again the other night. Can't beat it. Great movie, and that is a real um, testimony to Ford pumping money into a project. I mean, now of course the storyline we see on the movie is modified. It's not exactly how it turned out, but um, Ford, I'll give them credit for that. They dumped money into that project to make it happen, and proved that they could compete with those cars. So that's a pretty incredible story. Also, since you brought that up, there is a movie or a documentary out. I think it's on. I don't know if it's on Amazon or Netflix. I don't remember which. It might be Amazon. And I don't remember the exact name, but it is a story of Rick Hendrick building a car to take to Le Mans, and it's a Camaro, and it's a NASCAR Camaro. And Rick Hendrick threw a lot of money at that project. Great documentary and great just proof of what can be done. So if you haven't seen that, go watch that. I don't know what the name of it is. Somebody else can pull me up. Um, but uh, the work, the design of that Camaro, the testing, and the end results were amazing. Considering that they basically took a NASCAR car, heavily modified, of course, not built to true NASCAR specs, but they took it to over there, and it's just really, you need to watch the video and see the whole story. In fact, I'm probably going to try to watch it again soon. Richard, when I had my original 289 short block rebuilt in '96, it cost $950. It was board 30 over. I can imagine how the prices are now. Yeah. I mean, there's no getting around it. cost of materials goes up, cost of labor goes up, but we will make some progress on these two engines. I really do want to get them together and make them the best that I can for what I'm doing. Dawn, I watched Ford versus Ferrari while restoring Betsy, kept me motivated. Yeah. Oh, it's a great movie, no doubt about it. It is a great movie, and you know they did a really really good job with the action and the footage. It's really impressive. Car guy Troy, howdy, late to the program. Glad you're here, Troy. I like your thumbnail. That's pretty cool. David, you could pull a junkyard Godzilla for the Falcon. I would never get that to fit in the car, unless TCI sends me a complete suspension system for the Falcon. Hey, I have this project. Why don't you send me all this stuff and I'll make it? No, that would be interesting, but I think I'll stick with the small block because it'll bolt into what's there. So that would be fun though. It would look different, that's for sure. Rick Stevenson Ford won Le Mans in 66, 7, 8, and 9. There were only two manufacturers that won Le Mans in the 60s. Yeah. Yep. 427. Save your money and just buy some affordable aluminum heads, stuff like SVA, AFR, Enforcer, and TFS. Make some more affordable options that are light, that are still good quality. That's like those heads I have right now. Those are Edelbrock Performer heads. Let me see what the number is. They are Edelbrock Performer EOD D-215-16. And I'm feeling, I shouldn't go wrong with Edelbrock. They should be good heads. But that's what I'm going to be using on that. The other 289, I'm just going to put the stock. They're rebuilt heads anyway, so I'm just going to leave them the way they are and put it back together. But thank you for that. Robert, back when my dad was plant manager at AGAP, which sold under Nationwide engines for Signapro, I was buying a long block 350s for under $500. There you go. That would be a bargain. Let's see. Dawn, the first 289 for Betsy I purchased from Ford dealer, 289 Hypo short block for $450 in 1972. Ooh. That was a while ago. And Robert said his was in the early 90s. Muscle 65 car. Movie was American Thunder. There you go. Thank you for that. I'm glad you're here. American Thunder. Check out that video. You'll feel good about what they've done with an American built car competing in Le Mans. 427 Mustang. Those Edelbrock heads are great for a street car. Yeah. Well, and these have the bigger valves in. They put the 202 valves in this, like the Chevy style. So it is what it is at this point. But yeah, it'll be fine. Pat, I know when I talked to Machine Shop, the price to recondition the rotating assembly and new pistons was real close to the 347. The price to recondition the rotating. Okay. Oh, so you're saying for the stroker kit? I'm assuming like similar to the same price for the stroker kit. I've looked online. I've found some options for stroker kit packages, and I'm not sure which one would be better than the other. I don't know. I'll talk to the machine shop guys and see what they recommend or can offer. But I'll have to come up with something if I'm going to go that route. So if you have any suggestions on that, You can shoot me an email and, send me some ideas. Emails at the bottom of the screen, joedaddysgarage@gmail.com. Okay, so Pat was saying within $300 of the stroker kit. Okay. And 427, just remember some stroker kits cost a lot to balance due to needing weight added. That's good to know. Well, like I said, if you have a recommendation for a kit, shoot me an email. Let me know what you think. Car Guy Troy, Scat makes a good kit. Know a few folks with that setup, AFR heads and whatnot. Thank you, Troy. 427 says, I will email you. Okay, great. That'd be great. Yeah, I mean, ideally, I want to use those aluminum heads, the Edelbrock heads, with the kit. And it currently has 1.7 rockers in it already on those heads, and has guide plates. And I mean, we'll see what happens, but that's probably what I'm going to end up using just because it's what I have. Okay. We're at 1 hour. And so that's going to be my end for the show. Carl Whispers, late here in Europe. It was nice tuning in. Have a nice one, sir. Much respect. Thank you for checking in and being here. Appreciate that. So I'm going to call it a night. My voice is starting to go, and I need to go get something to eat. So it's been great. We've had some pretty good discussion about different things, talking about engines and modifications that we can make and change things. But that's where we're at right now as far as ideas on those. I'm going to continue to play with the 68, try to get some of this exhaust, at least in my mind, figured out to where I'm comfortable with it and move on from there. But that'll be it for tonight. So I want to thank you all for being here. And until next time, take care of yourselves. See you.
Just give me something to start with. A little rest is fine. I'll give you many hours, a minute at a time. I don't care where you came from, but I want you to know I may have to start over. I'm learning as I go. When I'm done, I'll be the one to take you down the road. We'll leave behind our troubles, and everyone will know.